Roundup live video. This is something that we've been doing now for a few months that our readers really asked for, and that is, a roundup of the news that we've done for the week at the Border Chronicle, in addition to important news from across the border region that we want to highlight. And then we've been experimenting with this live video just for folks who don't have time to read the whole thing, and just to sort of touch base with everybody. So I'll be posting that roundup on our site after our live video.
It's been a few weeks too, right, Melissa? That since we've done a live video, am I correct on that? It's been a
Yeah,
busy October. That's why.
it has. You and I both left the country, and thankfully we were allowed back into the country.
Yeah.
Knocking on wood. Yes,
So,
we're admitted back into the country, which is a good thing. But yeah, so we haven't done the live video for like 3 weeks or something.
but here we are again for you.
Yes. Yeah. So today we have important news for everybody about the future of the Border Chronicle, it's good news, which is good. And we're going to check in with Todd about where he's been, because Todd's like, where's Waldo? He's traveling around the world, uh, around the United States, talking about, issues at the border and the Border Chronicle's work and his work as an author. Um, but first, and we're also going to get an update on the status of your book as well, on the Rio Grande and water and Chihuahua. And I mean, I'll let you,
Mhm.
obviously, you're going to do a much better job of explaining it than I am. um,
You do a good job.
but we are all very anxiously awaiting your new book, which will be great. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Oh, it will be. But first, we wanted to talk about the amazing essay that we published this week in the Border Chronicle by Michelle Garcia. Michelle is from South Texas. She's a longtime border journalist and always has really like fascinating perspectives and angles on things that are happening around, border militarization, enforcement, and um, human rights. And so she wrote a really provocative piece, Writing in the Era of Exhibitionist Violence is what it's called. And in the piece, she asks, how do we as journalists, as, trained witnesses, avoid unwittingly acting as enforcers of the status quo, accepting the official narrative with the government frame. And it's so difficult in this administration because we're constantly inundated by AI slop, disinformation, constant social media propaganda. So how do you navigate that? How do you avoid unwittingly reinforcing the disinformation that's coming from this administration? And I mean, and then this whole like social media post, right, of King Trump dropping sewage all over the No Kings protesters over the weekend was just like another level of bizarre. So it's a very, very challenging time, obviously, for journalism, and I think Michelle makes a very good case throughout her piece about what a you know a journalist should be doing at this moment.
Yeah, I totally agree. I really enjoyed this piece by Michelle Garcia. As I've enjoyed a lot of her pieces over the years. For one, she's a gifted writer, and just to watch how she writes and brings these ideas into life was a pleasure in its own right. And I really liked how she both there was a simultaneous media critique and
Mhm.
a journalism, I would say journalism call to action all in one, right? So as I'm reading the piece and I'm, and she goes, the other thing is she digs into history, right? She brings up
Yeah.
one of my favorite writers, Mario Benedetti from Uruguay, and quotes Benedetti, and I know I was just in Chile as when Melissa was referring to the recent travels and why we haven't done this. But when
Yeah.
I was in Chile, I know it's not Uruguay, but Chile, I was thinking a lot about that from the 1970s and Victor Jara, how he had the musician who had his hands crushed by the Pinochet regime, but he kept trying to sing anyhow. It kept those sorts of historical resonances were really present in Michelle's piece, which then I mean, like, as I read it and I read the media critique, and then I read, like, oh, we have to call a spade a spade. We have to call what is happening exactly by the words of what's going on. And I thought, yeah, that's actually what we were trying to do here at the Border Chronicle. We are
Mhm.
valiantly attempting to do just that, to do what the thrust of what Michelle's piece is. Um, but without giving too much more away, I just recommend that you go and read it. We published it on Tuesday.
Yeah, yeah. Please check out Michelle's essay. It's really, really good. And it's just so wild to me. All through the Biden administration at the Border Chronicle, we were writing about Operation Lone Star and all of these, you know, states, Republican MAGA-led states, sending their National Guard, sending their police to train on the border in Texas. And it was just bizarre because you could be living in Eagle Pass, Texas, on the border and get pulled over by a Florida highway patrolman and get a ticket. I mean, they were constantly pushing the envelope. Um, Texas was, and experimenting under Operation Lone Star with bringing in different law enforcement, National Guard from other states. And now you see Texas deploying these National Guard to Chicago and other places. And I just feel like, the Texas border was a real MAGA learning lab for all of us. And also the propaganda, right? All the propaganda messaging around the invasion and just watching Elon Musk and Trump and all these uh, powerful figures show up at the border with their cameras in tow and right wing media in tow. And they would create these reels and they would create this content to make it look like we were under invasion. There was some sort of threat. And then it's just wild to see Kristi Noem, the DHS secretary, and Border Patrol traveling around the country doing these same performative acts of propaganda with their own camera people filming and putting it out on social media. Like all of this stuff that's happening, a lot of it is happening for performative reasons, for, fascist performperformance on social media. And, yeah, so it makes it difficult for journalists, right? Because you've gotta navigate what is real and what isn't real. Because at the same time, in this country, we're used to talking to officials and getting actual data that's more or less accurate, which is becoming less and less the case. You can't get actual official reliable statistics from our government agencies, and then you have these officials who are doing crazy things like, you know creating AI slop of Trump in a crown, dropping excrement on US citizens in a protest. So it's just a crazy, crazy time to and we called this back in January that this was going to be a war over reality. What is reality? What isn't reality? Over the narrative. What is happening in this country? What is really happening on the ground? So, yeah. And so, yeah, Michelle makes a great case for all of that. And then our other post is a little different on Thursday, and I'm going to segue now into, the changes that we're making at the Border Chronicle. We are going to be transitioning to another platform, but we'll be talking about that more later, and it will be seamless for folks that subscribe to us. We're also hiring, which is great. We're staffing up, and getting more help, bigger. Because I mean, since 2021 when we launched, for many years it was just me and you. That we were like
Yes.
clockwork. clockwork every week, posting Tuesdays and Thursdays, for a long time. But we're at a point now where we're going to be coming into our fifth year in 2026. And especially with everything that's going on, where we really just need to staff up and grow. So we've gotten some financial support, and we're going to be fundraising for more support so that we can hire more reporters. So we'll be talking about that more, leading up to January. And so we have a survey that we've posted on Thursday that we're hoping that people can fill out just to let us know how you think we're doing so far. What would you like to see more of? We really want to hear from our subscribers um, about what they think about the Border Chronicle and what they think we should add. What more could we do? There are so many different ways of doing the news now. There's live video, there's podcasts. We also have a podcast. There's text based, and various social media platforms. So we're really want to make sure we're reaching people where they're at. So the survey will really help us a lot, just getting feedback from folks who subscribe to us. Yeah, and then I think we were going to segue now into our Where's Waldo segment.
Yeah.
Todd, you've been traveling quite a bit, and
Yeah.
speaking about the Border Chronicle, and your work as an author. And so, where were you? Was it this week?
Yes, yesterday.
Where did you go, and what did you do?
Oh, I was in Indiana. Of course, we're in Tucson, live in Tucson, Melissa and I. But I went to Indiana University and spoke there. And actually, I was thinking about that with Michelle's essay, because the title of my talk there um was a kind of messaging that I wrote in about earlier this a couple months ago in a Border Chronicle piece, that what is it? Border security is really an act of war. That was the name of the talk. And and I thought, oh yeah, that, because you can have, there's so many ways that the border is described. And of course, you have the total disinformation, misinformation of the Trump administration and the invasion rhetoric. Um, on one hand, and then you have also another layer, like the term border security, which seems a little bit less in your face, but at the same time, you
Mhm.
think about it and go, "Oh, okay. Well, that implies something dangerous is on the other side coming to get us." And and does that really accurately describe the state of the border and what the border is? So I brought that was the title of my talk, and I spoke at Indiana University on a pretty whirlwind trip that got me home late last night,
Ugh.
which if you can see the red in my eyes, that would be that. Um, but it's really great to get out there and talk about what we're doing at the Border Chronicle in places like in the Midwest, around in Indiana, for example. And later this same in November, I'll be going to Boston and and speaking there as well. So, um, yeah,
And it's interesting, if you look at the map of most of the states that have sent National Guard and police to the border in Texas for Operation Lone Star, it's mostly the Midwest. So I think it's really important, that the border speak to the Midwest and
yeah,
help them understand that, we're not under invasion. There's not a threat here. Um, at the same time, we now have these national defense areas. We have these militarized zones at the border that are under the control of different military bases. There's a link I'm going to add to the roundup that the Coast Guard now is going to do like a Operation River Wall in the Rio Grande. They're going to
whoa,
line the Rio Grande, the Coast Guard.
we're gonna have to do
Um,
a piece on that.
yeah, which is crazy because things are really quiet at the border, you know? There's certainly no need to line the Coast Guard along the Rio Grande. Um,
They're there though. I remember when I was doing reporting just a year ago in the Rio Grande Valley. I just remember I camped by the river for 2 nights, and I
yeah,
remember. I mean, it was Border Patrol. It was um, gosh, I think it might have been the Florida police.
yeah, Highway
And also
Patrol.
Coast Guard. Coast Guard was doing,
Mhm.
and it was surprised me. I was like, "Whoa, the Coast Guard's on the Rio Grande."
Yeah,
I mean,
the Coast Guard's been patrolling the Rio Grande now for a few years, but this is gonna be like one of those performative propaganda things where they're
right?
gonna line up, and I'm sure Kristi Noem will be there.
Yeah.
She's
What are they?
she's
What are the? Do you know what that will physically look like? Will they kind of like Operation Hold the Line? When
Yeah,
that
you're
side by side by side by side by side sort of
yeah,
thing.
and I'm sure that we can expect soon to see a social media reel of Kristi Noem down there on a Coast Guard boat dressed like Coast Guard Coast
And a
Guard Barbie.
Coast
She
Guard.
she seems to be really all over the Coast Guard right now because she's also getting, like, 2 fancy planes from the Coast
Yeah.
Guard as well to, like, fly her around. Um,
Yeah.
so get
That
ready
reminds
for
me of
that.
those. Remember, what's the name of the Texas governor before Abbott? What was his name again? I can't, for some reason, it's slipping my mind. But
Oh,
it
Rick
was,
Perry?
yeah, it
Yeah.
was during the 2014, the child separation, and
Mhm.
then I think it was Sean Hannity that brought him down and they were on the Rio Grande, and they were
Yeah.
in like flak suits and
Oh, yeah,
bulletproof
yeah,
vests and these
yeah,
combat helmets. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I'm just imagining Christy Nome in some sort of outfit like that
Oh,
too.
yeah. Yeah, the outfit will be, I'm sure, just amazing with the blowout and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that. Um, yeah, uh, fill out our survey, which we are, posting online, and, do we have anything else, Todd,
No,
that you wanted to
I
share?
think I think we're good. Just wanted to say, like, I personally, I'm really right now. I'm really like right. So I'm putting a lot of effort in the night for with a deadline at the end of the year. So that's. I mean, I'm still plugging away a lot with the Border Chronicle, but I'm definitely that's like becoming this huge priority to get this book done. I did a photo essay of I think what might be my last research trip for the book down to Presidio and Big Bend and La Junta de los Rios. And it's a yeah. But anyhow, I'll leave it at that for now. But
Yeah, no,
I'll be obviously talking more about it later at another
that was
time.
a very good post. For folks who were on this live video, just describe your book and what it's about for people who don't know.
Oh, sure. It's about well, what I'm doing is I'm following the Rio Conchos, which is basically the main tributary of the Rio Bravo, Rio Grande. And it comes from the Sierra Tarahumara in Mexico and connects in Presidio. And through that river, which goes all the way to pretty much SpaceX, right? So very rich with symbolism, right?
Yeah,
The Sierra
yeah,
Tarahumara to SpaceX. Um, I'm looking at water and the water conflicts that have been between the United States and Mexico and the border. And I'm looking throughout the river on both sides of the border, and particularly into some of the water conflicts that have happened in Chihuahua. Um, including a massive uprising of farmers in 2020 and the militarization of the dams, and what continues to happen in some of the worst drought-like situations that I've ever seen, and but how it affects both sides of the border.
yeah. Yeah, and all of this is going to heat up again as we renegotiate it's not NAFTA now, it's like the
Like it does.
US, Mexico, Canada agreement, and apparently as of today, the US is not talking to Canada about trade because of some ad that angered Trump. We'll see how long that lasts, but we'll be hearing a lot more about water and water treaties in the coming months, absolutely,
Mhm.
especially and really afraid of this and anticipate it happening, that all the water issues are going to be pulled into these uh, trade negotiations, and probably not in a good way. But um, so your book
Not
would be very
surprisingly, too.
timely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Should be. Yeah.
And we'll definitely be covering all of that. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And I'll post our roundup right after this. And have a good weekend, everybody.
Take care.
All right.